Welcome to Recovery Talk Live, an ongoing open discussion about psychological, emotional, and spiritual recovery. Our mission is to deliver the message that those who are suffering with emotional trauma can recover. Later in our program today, we welcome sexual addiction author and executive director of Operation Integrity, David Zailer. And now, here are your hosts, Dawn and Terry.
Welcome back to Recovery Talk Live, and we are here today, Dawn Maxwell and
Terry Liddell.
With we're just showing the people how real we are today. We will go anywhere.
You're sure?
And we'll talk about anything.
You're sure? Because
Yes.
we have a tough one today.
We have sex addiction today.
Exactly.
On the table.
And we're going to be talking about what that looks like and how it affects families. And it's going to be, hopefully, I think it's going to be a good one.
And we have a guest author with us
We
today.
do. Friend of mine.
Second segment.
And he's done some pretty good stuff. It's part of his journey he'll talk about.
Okay.
I've known him for 5 years or so, and he's just a neat guy.
Well, I'm looking forward to his insight, and he has some books with us. And sex addiction is often not spoken about. It's one of those closet addictions.
Yep.
You know, addiction itself being a taboo. Alcohol, socially acceptable addiction, drugs, sex addiction people don't talk about. The biggest thing I hear in my recovery groups is it's just porn. It's not sex addiction. That is what the COSA, those are codependent women in relationships with sexually addicted men, say their husbands tell them. It's just porn. I'm not sleeping with somebody else.
Right.
But God's word and reality tells us otherwise. Do you want to elaborate on that?
No, I'm going to let you go with that because you're doing. I want to know what they say.
Okay, so I'm going to give the woman's.
Yeah, that would
I am
be
not
good.
a COSA, but I have COSA friends.
I'm good with that.
So what they tell me is that their husbands they feel, the women feel violated. They feel like.
Okay, what does that mean? I really
violated it biblically. Christian women, if it's done in the mind, it's done in the heart, and it's done before God. Meaning, if you're making me go here, buddy. You're making me go here. Okay, so if you're looking at pornography, the husbands are telling them, and I have a lot of friends that are COSAs, that, I'm not with the other woman. It just helps me be aroused. It just helps me perform better, but I'm not touching anybody.
Right.
When in reality, my understanding from sexually addicted men that I know in recovery.
No. Get back over here.
Okay.
I want to know what the women are saying.
The women are hurt. The women are violated. The women feel cheated on. The women want out. They're heartbroken. And I have a lot of COSA friends whose husbands, it's escalated from going to porn on the internet to prostitutes to this whole fantasy reality that they live to. At some point when they're intimate with their husbands, they feel like their husbands aren't even there. That they're with them physically, but mentally they're in this fantasy world of pornography.
Okay.
And they feel the disconnect when they're intimate with their husbands. And it's, I don't want to say it's like a rape, but it's like a rape of the relationship. And it's awful. And I have never seen more heartbroken women, and especially difficult for the Christian woman whose husband hasn't actually stepped out and had intercourse with somebody else. They feel stuck in these marriages because biblically you're only free if there's adultery. So what I hear in the debates between these women is it adultery if they haven't actually gone with another woman and it's just alive in the mind? That's what I know. That's what I've heard from the COSA women. What is the look? He's giving me the look, Colin. Can we have a break?
I think
Folks,
it's killer because what are you saying?
Thing.
What are you saying? Is the women's side of the coin?
That is the woman's side of the coin. It's the only side I've heard.
Okay, well that's important because from a men's side, we can explain away a lot of that.
You can or cannot?
Can.
Okay.
We can explain it away. Now, it doesn't change the fact that it's a violation. But I'm just watching something.
Can
and
I
it
ask
helps
a question?
me. Sure.
It's a physiological question. Dr. Kendra Clausen, who you and I worked on the recovery bus, and upcoming, very cool that Colin's working on reality show, told me once, and I don't know if this is true, I hadn't heard it, that physiologically that and this is even so embarrassing to say, and if you knew me, you know that I'm dying under the table right now, that there is a nerve that goes from the eye to the male genitalia, and that they are visually stimulated physiologically. I'm dying. I'm dying having said that.
That's
I have
good.
children.
Like I said, this was a tough one today.
Okay. Is that true?
Well, yeah.
Because I had never heard that.
Because men are built very visually. And anything. Well, when we see something, okay, I look at you and I go, you're cute. Okay. So you're interesting to me.
Interesting.
Well, it's like there's a lot of things that could go on if
Like
I let
men
them
think,
run.
okay, I want to have sex with you because you're
Sure.
cute. Just tell me right out.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So if you look at, God didn't quit making cute women. So when we see women, we can go, wow, she's cute. Now, if I let my mind run, then it can
Past the she's cute?
Yes.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. When you look at beauty, the process of God making a good-looking woman or a good-looking man isn't wrong. So part of the thing that can often happen is like the reason for beauty is God's creation. So when we make a blanket statement, you know, if I look at a woman,
Yeah.
I'm sexually aroused, it's like we just ran off the end of the pier
Okay,
here.
but is that true?
Is what true?
Is there control? Do you have physiological
Sure.
control? I'm in a room with men. Ladies, if you saw the studio, dying here, men everywhere. So, but I'm tough, I can take it.
Okay.
So, is it true that men are instantly visually stimulated when they look at a cute woman? Is it like boom erection? Oh my gosh, I'm going to hell. Okay. Whew, getting hot.
Okay,
but
this
if we're
is
going to
getting
go
on.
there,
Okay.
is that true?
Yeah,
Because
no.
COSA women, they
No.
want to know.
No.
I'm asking for my
No.
friends. Okay. Kendra, we will talk later
Yeah.
because I was told that.
Now, is it true that can happen? The answer is yes. Because if every time I saw a good-looking woman, I got an erection, that would be a little difficult for me to function during the day.
Well, you know, this is a question I've always wondered
I get
because
that
I heard
part.
it.
Okay. So the answer to that is no. Now,
Okay.
because we have boundaries. We talked about boundaries. What could be one of my boundaries?
That you just keep looking forward when you see the cute chicks on
Okay,
the
so
side.
I look at a
That's
woman and I go,
self-imposed
you know,
boundary.
that's a beautiful woman.
Tunnel vision.
Okay, so, well, maybe not. If I look at a beautiful woman, I go, that's one of God's creations, and I go on about my day, I'm probably not going to do anything weird.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Tunnel vision. You can look, but then you're not continuing on and lusting. You're
Yeah,
just
I'm not
looking
playing
forward.
yeah, that's true.
Right. That's
Okay.
what I had heard
Okay.
a man say to me one time, that I used to just, you know, go on, and now if I just see it, I just turn my head the other way and look forward, because, you know, retraining his brain, I guess. I don't know. Do you know what this does to women? The sexual addiction. I've heard so many COSA women. I mean, they lose weight, they overeat, they hurt themselves, they think they're not pretty enough, they change their appearance because no matter what they do, they can't measure up.
Okay, I'm going to step in
I'm
the deep end
speaking
of the
for
pool
these
here.
women.
You
Oh
ready?
my gosh.
All right, you ready?
All right.
Okay, here we go. When a woman and a man become one.
Are we talking biblically or on the street somewhere? Okay.
Nope, become one, and on the streets, whatever. When a woman has sex with a man, she
Yes.
is pretty much given everything that she has to give to him.
Emotionally, everything.
Physically, everything.
Sold out. True.
Now, okay, so play with me here, okay?
Your
we're on
pool
camera,
is a
so nothing's going to
dangerous
happen.
place.
Yeah, okay, so we're going to play a minute. You and I are married.
Okay.
You and I have sex. I go get my laptop, and I'm watching something there.
During
And
it
I'm
or
going,
before
no,
or
afterwards.
after?
Or
Okay.
okay, so at another time and place, you know, and then I come back to the bedroom and I go, well, you want to try this, you want to try that? Well, I saw this on TV,
Oh.
I saw that and stuff. Now, here's the
Oh
problem.
my gosh. Is that what happens?
Oh, yeah. So here's the thing that happens
Okay.
that's next. You've given me everything you've got. What else can you give me? Because now I've told you you're not good enough.
Well, yeah, because that doesn't sound like it's about the wife at
Right,
all.
so
That's
it's not.
about whatever the
Now,
guy's
when a guy says it's not about sex, it's not about I just want to try this, I want to try that. In many ways, they're telling you the truth. The problem is they violated a major rule, which is
They're telling the truth that they want to try it,
Sure.
but they're, well, like our last guest did meth. I mean, he wanted to do meth. He said wasn't right, but he wanted to do it.
right. I drank. It wasn't
Okay.
right, but I did it. So the problem is we're talking about the concept of addiction here. We're talking about people getting caught up in a process that's outside the bounds.
Right.
Okay? And when God
Okay.
says you have sex with your wife and your wife alone, there's a reason for it. But
But
when
it
you
seems
look
harder
at
for the men to stay
Well,
true to that.
well, yes
I'm
and
just-
no. Yes and no.
Statistically,
Yes
I'm
and no.
thinking so.
Is it harder? Yeah, because women aren't as visual or as we are.
No, you have to help us with stuff to earn our trust.
So I want you to consider what you just said. You ready?
Yes.
Okay.
I know what I said. I know what
If
I mean.
if I don't do what you want me to do, what are you going to do with me?
I'm talking helping with the kids, making my day easier.
So if I don't help with the kids and I don't make your day easier, you're going to tell me no tonight?
No, but I'd probably be pretty shut down and exhausted and
Okay,
feel
so what's the message I get?
unsupported.
Now watch, I want you to consider something.
Okay.
What's the message I get? Now, you got the message you weren't good enough because I'm looking
Right.
at porn. I'm getting the message I'm not good enough because I didn't do the things you wanted me to do. So we have conflict.
Or not a
in this
priority,
process.
maybe. I can
Not a
see how
priority. There's
husbands
another
would
way
feel
to-
that's not a
That's a
priority.
good point. So this isn't, it isn't just a man thing.
No, I know sexual addiction is not just a man thing,
Okay.
but this dynamic of the
doesn't-
porn dance
Yeah.
and the wife,
Yeah, it's good stuff.
it's common and secretive.
Because it's embarrassing.
Yeah, I'm dying. And I don't even have that.
Okay.
And I got a list of issues.
This whole thing. Well, I'll tell you what. We get to Dave. We'll ask him some of these questions.
Okay.
And see what comes up.
All right, I'll be back
All
with
right.
a box of tissue schvelzing in the next segment when we have author David Zailer with us. Join us in a minute.
You're watching Recovery Talk Live. If you would like to contact Don and Terry, please send your email to recoverytalklive@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or insight, we'd love to hear from you. Your identity will remain anonymous and your name will not be revealed on air. Again, send your email to recoverytalklive@gmail.com.
Welcome back to Recovery Talk Live, and we are here with author David Zailer of When Lost Men Come Home. I'm told that's actually him on the cover there, very cute, and Our Journey Home. And we are blessed to have you join us today and talk to us about the ever uncomfortable issue of sexual addiction. And on the break, you were sharing something about this not only being a man's issue. Would you repeat that for our audience?
Well, I think one of the things that often gets confused is when people talk about sex addiction, especially in the Christian culture, they immediately think it's just a man's issue.
Yes.
Sex addiction is a human issue. I do agree that men are more inclined to be looking at pornography. Historically, that's what they've been doing. However, that's also been, and the market has been driven that way in the past. However, the pornography industry is a money-making industry. And just like other vice producing products, they're looking to increase their market share. And they're smart enough to realize, why would we ever turn our back on half the market share? So they are tailoring their product, the availability, to make it more appealing and making it more available to women. And so the percentages of women looking at pornography are going up. But the term sex addiction, it's such a scary issue for so many people. I think many people default to, the flasher or the pedophile, the criminal. These people likely are sex addicts.
The pedophile and the criminal.
Could very well be.
Because in the 12-step recovery world, this is not unfamiliar, so I don't personally think it's the pedophile on the street. But outside of the recovery world, I agree with that perception.
Well, and one of the things, a sex addict has learned to use their sexuality as if it were a drug. It's a mood and mind altering device. It is the ultimate way that they objectify themselves, and also begin to objectify other people. Once their sexuality is objectified, then everything about themselves is objectified, because our sexuality is not just about eroticism. It's not just about the male-female intercourse relationship. It's who we are. God created us as what? Male and female.
So I just want to backtrack to something you said earlier. You said that they're marketing pornography to women also. Women not being so visually stimulated. I know there are women with sex addiction. How are they marketing it to women? I mean, I know personally seeing somebody without a shirt in a magazine is not doing anything for me.
Okay.
Except as a mother thinking, put your shirt on.
I think for me and when I have clients come in, they're looking for a connection. How do I get connected to somebody?
To please their husbands who are addicted?
No, not
Connection to
necessarily
what?
the husband, but the process of being cared about.
How does pornography make a woman feel cared about?
Well, if you've ever watched, which if you haven't, you won't. It's
No,
a
I
tough
have
one to
not.
say. But in
I'm a
pornography,
porn virgin too.
they
Direct
are
virgin, porn
good.
virgin.
Well, it's not all bad that you do that. But you've got a play pretend fantasy world in which people care about each other, ultimately ending up in a sexual act.
Okay, but we know it's play and pretend and fantasy.
Not really.
So it's like watching You've Got Mail, and they wait for the couple to get together, only sexually
explicit.
segment
About the Brady Bunch and Ozzie and Harriet and,
Yes.
and reality fantasy TV. There's no difference. You put a DV in, and what are you watching? Is that reality, or is that fantasy?
I'm
world?
assuming it's not reality from the heartbroken women that I have met.
Okay, well.
Well,
So-
I think, when we're talking in terms of addiction, we talk about human brokenness. Addiction is a human phenomenon that touches every aspect of the human landscape, socially, biologically, relationally, and sex addiction is the same way. Sex addiction is about escape. It's about
Yes.
sexual brokenness. It's not about sex. It's an intimacy disorder. It's a relationship disorder. If a person, male or female, does not know how to be relational and knows how to be intimate, it's a very close feeling counterfeit to be sexual. And when another person becomes involved, there's a potential for hurt. There is a potential for brokenness. There's a potential for rejection there. When you bring something like pornography or some sort of consuming sexual device, whether it's pornography, an adult entertainment, an illicit relationship, whatever it might be, you escape that potential for rejection.
Is it a control issue?
It may very
'Cause
well
it
be.
sounds like a control issue.
It may very well be. Here, the interesting thing is that addicts, their great obsession is to somehow keep their addiction around, their obsession around, and learn how to control it. But the very fact that they're doing it is proof that they are out of control at a very, very deep level.
So the question that we pose to every guest, and why we would have you here today, is: do you have recovery yourself in this area?
Oh yeah.
So can you give us a summation of your story? We asked all
Sure.
our guests to share their
Happy to do that.
testimony
Well,
a little bit.
I grew up very, very addicted from a very young age.
How young?
Oh, I think my addictive behavior started preteens.
And that's, wow, is that common?
Well,
boys, is that common?
addictions
For
can.
pornography.
Well, in pornography, I was exposed to pornography pre-adolescent. It was in my house growing up. I get my hands on it, and I think any child who would see pornography, especially the kind that I saw, there'd be a huge fascination there. And it's a very conflicting kind of feeling because it's very fascinating. Again, there's that fantasy piece, and also yet it's also secrecy. It's the kind of thing we don't run and tell mom and dad about too often, especially when it's in our household.
Although if you're finding it, mom and dad already have seen it and have it themselves if it's in your house.
Yeah, but you're remember when he's talking about it, or when I was sneaking drinks at home, we don't think they know it, because how old are we?
But aren't you getting it from them?
But we don't think they know we're doing it.
Okay.
Right, and if while logically, in the logic of a very young child, I would say, okay, this must belong to one of my parents. But if they know that I'm looking at it, then they know that I'm breaking boundaries. I'm going to places in their life where I'm not supposed to go, because this is obviously adult. It's obvious where it's like borrowing the car without telling them about it. If the only way I'd ever tell them about it is if I got caught.
So this is such an enormous issue. People have to read your books to get the rest of this story. Tell us, before we close today, how did you get yourself out of that journey?
Well, I not only was
That addiction.
I grew up addicted in a variety of ways. Grew up also abusing drugs and alcohol, and about 13 years ago, I was arrested for my drug use and sent to a treatment program. It was in that treatment program that through the process of discovery and healing, I began to understand, the depth of my brokenness and how my addiction to, basically, I was a Hugh Hefner wannabe that failed. and how that brokenness had played out in that way in my relationships with women. And I realized that at a clinical level, I was a sex addict. And so I began to address that just like I would my drug and alcohol issue. I went to 12-step programs, I got into counseling, and I began to work through it. Little did I ever know that it would become my passion for helping others, and that I would end up doing it, and my work helping others would lead to writing books and running an organization like I do today.
Tell us about Operation Integrity, because that's a very cool, cool program.
Well, Operation Integrity is a Christ-centered, faith-based organization where we help people recover from addiction, leading to radical life transformation. We seek to help people by educating them about addiction. We help them get plugged into appropriate healing communities. Nobody recovers alone.
Nobody recovers alone. That's a key.
Yeah, we also help them find helpful counselors and develop their own individual journey, so that they're not just going to meetings and then pretending the rest of the time. This really is a journey of great self-discovery.
Is there a website you can share with our audience? We'd just like to give resources.
It's operationintegrity.org.
Operationintegrity.org.
Yeah,
okay.
Operationintegrity.org. They can go there. From there, they can get in touch with me if they'd like to. We've got 800 number, of course, emails, and all different kinds of resources.
Is it inpatient, or is this a resource center?
We are a resource center. We also do communications across the country. I do quite a bit of traveling. We do have some, we do not do any inpatient program. We would always refer to an inpatient program. We have some programs available. We're a nonprofit, so people are not paying us, but we do need to have a donation to cover costs.
Right.
So.
That's wonderful. And and just out of my own curiosity before we wrap up, was that arrest your bottom? What was your bottom?
Well, my bottom was getting arrested.
Yeah.
I was a very functional drug and alcohol user. I owned a business. I owned a home.
Did you have a family at that time?
I did not have a family at that time. I had lots of friends, though. I had many of my neighbors were like my friends. Most of my neighbors and my business associates, they all knew that I had a drug and alcohol problem. But because I was functional, they just kind of let it go.
Did you fool a lot of people? I mean, your friends and neighbors knew, but did your business associates?
My business associates knew.
Did they know?
Yeah, I'd been working with the same number of people for many years. They knew about my addictions, and they knew about my misery. But I showed up to work in the mornings, and I kept my bills paid. There at the end, though, one person said to me, and something that was very, very profound. He said, "David," he said, I love you, but either make the most of this or we're done. He said, the only reason why most people are staying around for you is because it's in their financial best interest.
He did.
He told me that to my face.
That's an act of love.
It was an act of love.
That's an act, and did that make a difference for you?
It did, but I will tell you this, is that I did not start this process intending to change. I did not start this process intending to stay sober. I didn't know any other way to live except to live in an addicted way. The thought of giving up drugs, to give up alcohol, to give up my womanizing ways, for a lack of a better term, I didn't know anything else. So the thought of giving it up just did not make sense.
So for you, as for most people in recovery, giving back is part of your healing and you keeping sober.
Sure,
and
absolutely. I do what I do.
Forward.
What I do with Operation Integrity, I do for a living, but it's also my passion. And thankfully, I do get paid something so I can pay my own bills and support myself. But if I were financially well off to the point where I didn't have to work, I would be certainly doing the same very
So
same
God
thing.
used your darkest moment for his brightest light.
The thing
Usually
that
does.
I want to say
That's
about
awesome.
Dave is that I've watched him, like I said, we've known each other about 5 years now.
Oh, I think longer than that.
Is it really?
Yeah, it was before you had gray hair.
Oh, wow.
Nice try.
Long time. Yeah, there we go.
But he's an ethical man, and I'm glad to call him friend.
Oh, thank you, Terry.
So, All right.
And respect is earned
So
from
yeah, it's cool.
so
So
that's
anyway,
cool.
I think we got to wrap this thing up.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
for
you
showing
so
up,
much for
Dave.
joining us,
Thank you so
David, and
much.
blessing us.
Appreciate
And
it.
please pick up David's books,
Oh, yeah.
The Journey Home and When Lost Men Come Home. And thanks for joining us today on Recovery Talk Live. Don and Terry, we'll see you next time.
You've been watching Recovery Talk Live. If you have questions, comments, concerns, or insight, we'd love to hear from you. Send your email to recoverytalklive@gmail.com. That's recoverytalklive@gmail.com. Look for new episodes every week, and thanks for watching Recovery Talk Live.